Nosy Nancy's is a true crime podcast based in Austin, Texas. If you are sensitive to any of the trigger words, this is not the podcast for you. Due to its graphic nature, listener discretion is advised.
Somewhere between the sandy and again and again. Well, I was just pretending that it's all just a dream. A little condescending to believe in it. I'm getting the notion that I'm going all in.
There's all these fucking gnats everywhere.
The gnats have been so bad.
What is up with that?
I don't fucking know. It's the fucking humidity, I guess.
It's like, is it a bad omen?
Oh my god, what if we're cursed? What if we stink?
What if we're cursed with halitosis?
Oh my god.
We are.
I am for sure.
Me too. Well, hey, all you nosies. I'm Alequah.
And I'm Jasmine, and welcome to the season finale.
Part 2.
That's right.
But before we get into the part 2 of the season finale, which I know a lot of people are pretty excited about this, or at least Courtney is excited about
this. I also am excited.
Yeah. We need to do shout outs for our Patreon. We forgot to do it last episode, part 1.
Sorry.
So our first shout out is going to be to Levi. Thanks so much for, supporting us and being amazing. Yep. We love you.
Love you so much. And our second shout out goes to Kat. Thank you so much. Kat, I always thought that was like such a cute name.
It is. Kat's so precious.
It's true.
Just one of the best people that I've ever known besides you in my life.
Thank you so much for inflating my ego.
You're welcome. You're like, I can't get much bigger. It's gonna burst.
Well, thank you both for supporting us on our Patreon. We hope you're enjoying the bonus episodes.
Last bonus episode was intense.
Yeah, that one was so sad. It was sad.
So sad. And it's interesting because I always forget because between our part 1 of season finale and this part, we recorded that episode for the Patreon.
Yeah.
So it feels like we haven't been recording, but we actually have.
Yeah.
It's just most people, aren't on our Patreon, so they didn't get to see that episode. But man, if you guys don't know, or if you do know the story of Lacey Fletcher, the girl who was found deceased on her couch in her living room, like melted into it, it's really a gruesome and horrific story.
Yeah,
but
it's awful. So if you want to get fucked up emotionally, join the Patreon and go give it a listen.
What else? Oh, so Jazz came to Austin.
I took a little trip down to Austin with Todd. So Todd and Alequah met each other for the first time. They love each other, probably.
Yeah.
More than Alequah was definitely more excited to meet Todd than she was to see me for the first time in several years.
That's not true. I don't remember. That's not true. I think I said hi to Todd once the whole time. I think I acknowledged his presence once.
No, that's not true.
I know
that's true. Not true.
I do love Todd. Todd is actually pretty. He's kind of like. I think he needs to be protected at all costs.
I know. He's
honestly.
So precious. I love him so much.
I went off on his cousin about anime nerds and how they need to like bathe more and eat something other than macaroni cheese and dino nuggies. And he was just like,
okay.
He was like, ma'am, I don't know who you are, but please stop telling my life story.
I like Rick. Awesome. He's very cool. That was my second time meeting Rick. I like him. He's super laid back.
Yeah, he seems really chill, for sure.
Yeah.
We went to this place we went to a lot of places, actually. But we went to this place called Mama Dearest. Which...
Well, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, like the ambiance is really cool.
Yeah.
It's like a trailer park outside. It's like an Arkansas themed bar, and they have like all these like insane drink menu titles or whatever. And but the drinks were like super
The
weak,
drinks
supposedly.
were definitely like Todd makes amazing cocktails. So I try really hard when we go somewhere not to compare them to what Todd makes.
Hmm.
But even just, I feel like we went to so many places that had good, solid drinks. And the ones at Mama Dearest were just, they were watered down and like flavorless. And like you couldn't tell the difference between one drink and the next. It was just fucking weird.
Yeah, I just got a beer. I don't drink mixed drinks anymore because I just get fucked up. But
Yeah.
like,
That's why I
yeah,
drink them.
you're like, I don't want to remember any of this trip.
Yeah.
I don't want to remember being with Alequah at all. At one point we shared a bathroom. There was only one bathroom stall and there's three of us and we all had to go pee.
Yeah.
So
Took
we just like
turns.
yeah, we tag teamed that commode,
Yeah.
you know. We were just packed in there like little sardines,
I know.
peeing on each
It was
other.
very
It was really
sweet. And then
sweet.
we come out
Yeah.
and there's like a line with three other women and we're like, "Oh,
I
sorry."
know. Yeah, they're like, we thought there was multiple people in there. Wow, creeps. Why were you
Yeah,
listening?
quit listening at the door.
You owe us all $20.
Our first our first night there, man, we got trashed.
Oh my God.
We were really just by the end of the night, we were in a pretty bad way. And we walked home and I remember like my shoes were so uncomfortable. I took them off and like walked
Oh,
down 6th Street barefoot
you did?
and I had no idea where we were going. Luckily Todd like he's such a navigator. He like knew enough to know where we should be walking, but
Jasmine, that's how you're gonna get Hep C. You
you
can't just be
know,
walking around.
I can't be getting blisters on my feet,
That's true.
which is
But
worse.
I know, right? Look, Sixth Street is wild. It's a wild time. It's never changed. It's always been wild.
Yeah.
But so we did our live, and it was actually pretty good,
It
I
went
think.
well. If you haven't seen
Yeah.
it, we have it posted for the next 30 days. So,
Yeah. Except I kind of accidentally deleted the Instagram one, which was the better one, but because it had Brett
yeah.
popping in.
Brett popping in. Yeah.
Yeah. So sorry.
With his little his little face. I'm like, "Are you
Yeah.
laying in bed?" He's like, "I'm reclining."
Full on like boomer like angle, right? He just like Brett just accidentally like asked to join our live and we were like, okay. And then he's just like it's just like the boomer, his nose and up. That's all
Yeah,
you see.
that's it.
It's so funny. Well, are you ready to get into this?
I am ready. I'm excited to hear
Okay.
about good old Hector.
Before we get into this, I do want to go ahead to list off the sources from where I got all this information,
Aren't
just in
you so
case. Like,
sweet and
yeah,
responsible?
well, I don't want I don't want to get sued or anything. So these sources are as followed. Findlaws.com, Polanco versus the City of Austin, Texas, 1996. Texas Monthly, Archives, the Austin Chronicle, Ernest Perez versus the State of Texas, appeal from the 299th District Court of Travis County, 1994. Texas Court of Appeals, their district decisions, Texas case law, Texas law, U.S. law, Justia. KXAN, medium.com, Scholarly Commons, Northwestern Pritzker School of Law.
Oh.
And then another one from KView.com, Anita Byington case. Could there be a new suspect? So Hector Polanco was the supervising detective that was on the yogurt shop murder
The yogurt
case.
shop murders. I tried not to
Mhm.
go too deep into the details of what all was going on with him when we were doing the yogurt shop, because I knew that it would be more fitting to just be lumped in together with
Yeah,
everything else.
right.
But I did learn a little bit about Hector and his horrible
Oh my God, there's so
little
much
atrocity of
information.
life.
Yeah, I feel like I just like skimmed the surface. I didn't really go into the yogurt shop murders only because, or the yogurt shop case only because like you had done such a good job.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. But if we need to recap for people, we can. Um, like you said, Hector Polanco was the supervising detective on the case, and he basically coerced or
Several
like,
people into
hmm
false confessions
yeah,
for the case. Hector
for the case,
Polanco had 100% solved case records as a homicide detective. So
which,
that's why he was put on the yogurt shop task force as a
yeah,
supervisor, was to make sure that the people or person who did this were caught. And they had a lot of false confessions from boys, basically. I don't think any
hmm
girls were accused, but from boys who had met previously with Hector and had confessions. But their confessions were always like, they had information regarding the case, but it was determined that it was, pretty much impossible that it was them.
yeah, and Hector didn't get really reprimanded for that. For that case, even though it was a high profile case, he actually was just kicked off the task force.
Yeah.
He didn't actually get any kind of real consequence for
Yeah.
that. During this time, court actually like deemed it the Polanco era. This motherfucker did so many like bad things. The fucking state like named it the Polanco era.
Yeah.
So basically it was like from I guess like 19 like late 80s to early 90s where he just had so many false confessions come back and like bite him in the ass basically.
What sucks about like the police is, they act as their own governmental body, separate from the public. They are out to protect each other at all
Oh yeah.
costs.
They're a union that goes after other unions but protects their own.
Yeah. So in cases like with Hector, or with any, officer that is in some sort of, criminal case, they will go out of their way to bring whatever kind of light they can to the situation without making that person seem overly malicious. That
It's an
sucks.
issue.
It sucks
No, it's a big
for the
issue.
people. It's
Yeah.
like with Raul Meza Jr., Gloria, one of his victims, her daughter released a statement because the police basically could have caught him a long time ago
Oh
after
God.
her
Yeah.
murder, and the
Yeah.
officer just didn't do the work. So they gave
Mm-mm.
her a little phone call and they were like, "Oh yeah, hey, by the way, we could have caught him and we didn't. Sorry about that." But the officer who neglected to do his job properly or follow through with anything, he's not being reprimanded or even named at all.
Mm-mm. Yeah, they're protecting
And
him.
yeah, and it's just, that sucks.
I think that if Hector Polanco didn't have so many violations against him, I don't think they would have publicly went
Named
after him
him.
so
Yeah.
much. Yeah, that they then they as they did. But he really, I think with the help with the yogurt shop murders, I think that really threw him into the limelight.
Yeah.
And I think that really made people be like, well, hold up, wait a minute, what's happening? You know? So let me just tell you a little bit about his earlier life.
Okay.
Hector Polanco, he was born in Austin, Texas. His father was a World War II veteran named Victor Polanco Jr., and his mother was a Eucharistic minister named Dora E. Polanco. So, a Eucharistic minister is a minister that does communions for the Catholic Church.
Okay, I'm glad you said that because I didn't want to
Yes.
be stupid and be like, what the
No, I
fuck
didn't
is
know
that?
what I didn't know what it was either, so
Okay.
I had to look it up. So he was raised in a Catholic home. He was one of 9 children, 6 sons and 3 daughters, 2 of which died before their parents. I don't know when they died, but they died before either of his parents passed away. Also, one of his siblings was mentioned in his father's obituary, but was not mentioned in his mother's obituary. So I'm
Oh.
wondering if maybe it was his father's child from a previous
Oh, maybe
relationship or
so.
something.
Maybe so. Good eye, good eye.
I mean, we're nosy.
Uh-huh.
Look, we're nosy. That's what we do. So Hector Polanco joined the Austin Police Force in March of 1976. He spent a number of years as a patrolman responding to traffic violations and other routine police work. Hector Polanco was pretty vocal about the minority and racial discrimination within the police force. And so that kind of like renowned him for his excellent like public service because they thought that he was a very just cop.
Yeah.
At one point he pulled over Earl Campbell. Earl Campbell was the University of Texas running back who had just won the Heisman Trophy, and so Polanco like pulled him over and issued him a warning ticket, which at that time was actually pretty, most people were like, "Oh, he's a star, let him go." And
Yeah.
Polanco didn't. So people started to like take notice of him because they thought he was unbiased, which is pretty ironic because at one point in the 80s there was a Ku Klux Klan march that Austin allowed. People were protesting because they were like, we don't want the Ku Klux Klan in Austin. And
Yeah.
Polanco was videotaped, like using excessive force, like hitting some protesters with his billy club. So even though he was like outspoken about racial discrimination within the police department, he was also like beating up protesters for the
Right.
KKK. So like what?
And
Anyways,
it's funny like looking at those things now, like knowing what has been kind of brought to light about Hector, it's obvious that he just enjoys having authority over people. You know what
oh
I mean?
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
beating on protesters, issuing citations, doesn't matter who you are or what you've done, you know,
Yeah. It's like
just power hungry.
it's like he wanted to do a good job when he entered the force, and he did do a good job. But then the more recognition he gained, the more ego, he had, and it
Yeah.
seemed like he really took advantage of that situation, of that position.
Yeah.
His father joined the Marines at like 14. So you can imagine how his childhood was probably like with a
Right.
father that was that, militant.
Yeah.
With 9 kids, like
Yeah.
he probably didn't have the best childhood growing up.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Not an excuse, but
Not a lot of people have the best childhood, but
no,
okay.
that's true. By August 1991, Polanco had worked his way up to being a supervisor in the homicide department of the Austin Police Division with 45 various awards over his long career and reputation of always getting his guy. However, Hector Polanco's reputation within the department wasn't always so pristine. He received complaints, of which 8 made it through the official channels, 5 for excessive force, 2 for verbal abuse, and 1 for misconduct. But he was cleared of all of them,
What was the
which doesn't.
misconduct? Do we know?
I don't know. They didn't
Okay.
go. I tried to look for, uh, more information on that, but honestly, there was so much other shit that I
Yeah.
think I think the
Outweighs
misconduct,
it.
like,
Got it.
yeah, exactly. So I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna try. Polanco has a really long rep sheet of like all these cases that he had forced confessions out of. So I'm just gonna list off about 4 of them because there's so much information.
Yeah.
Um, so I tried to make it within like chronological order, but I might have slipped up a little bit. Anyways, the first case is the case of Nancy DePriest. On the morning of October 24th, 1988, at around 7 a.m., 20-year-old assistant manager Nancy DePriest was getting ready to open the Pizza Hut for the morning shift that she had switched with another coworker. By 8:30 that morning, Nancy's manager called up to the restaurant, and when no one answered the first time, he decided to call again. When Nancy failed to answer a third time, he decided to go to the store and check in on Nancy. At around 9:30 that morning, he arrived at the shop and noticed the doors to the Pizza Hut was unlocked. Confirming that Nancy had in fact been to the store but failed to lock the doors behind her while she finished opening up for the day. At first, the manager didn't notice anything odd about the state of the restaurant until he ventured further into the dining area, where he soon realized the carpet was flooded with water. As he passed through the kitchen, he noticed the dough machine was already up and running, mixing dough for the morning shift. Once he approached the bathroom, though, he noticed the water that was flooding the restaurant was coming from the men's restroom. He opened the door and found Nancy's naked body. Her hands were tied to her back with her own bra. That's important. Okay, this is really important because the yogurt shop murders, they all were tied.
Yeah, they all were tied
Yes.
with their own undergarments also.
Yes. So this happened in October of 1988. And the yogurt shop murders happened in December of 1991.
Yeah.
So this is not that long
Yeah. Not
before. I mean, it was a
long
couple
between.
years, but yeah.
Interesting.
Uh-huh. Um, her eyes were open and she was laying in a pool of her own blood. She had been sexually assaulted and shot in the back of her head.
Oh,
Also,
just like the yogurt shop
just
girls.
like the yogurt shop girls. Yeah. When officers arrived at the scene, they did find that she was still alive and rushed her to the hospital where she underwent surgery, but unfortunately she did not survive and eventually succumbed to the wounds. Although Nancy was only 20, she was married at the time of her murder to a man named Todd, and she left behind a small daughter. I know. So on November 11th, 2 weeks after the murder of Nancy DePriest, two men, Christopher Ochoa, 22, and Richard Danziger, 18, were observed drinking beer and toasting to Nancy at a different Pizza Hut location where both the men worked. After finishing their beers, Ochoa was observed talking to the security guard on their way out, and another employee. Ochoa was it'd be great if I could read. Hello, Wimberley education. Ochoa was observed talking to the security guard on their way out, and another employee, suspicious of the two men, called the cops.
I would be suspicious, yeah. I mean,
You
not gonna
would?
lie, I would. I mean, if they're toasting to her,
Well, they weren't toasting to her death. Like, they were toasting to her, like, I
like
guess
her life.
yeah, they were like, oh, she's dead. Clap, clap. Like, they were
Well,
like, oh, here's to
no,
Nancy.
but I mean, if it had been publicized that she died, and then there's two men who I don't know at a Pizza Hut being like, "Oh, here's to Nancy," I'd be like, "That's fucking weird."
Maybe. These guys worked there. They worked at this location. They were just off, and they were like, I guess they just gotten done with their shift, or maybe they just came in for like half price beer or whatever.
Were they
I don't know.
dressed in the Pizza Hut costume?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't know. It didn't say. Both Christopher Ochoa and Richard Danziger were then picked up by the APD and questioned. They said his best friend, Richard Danziger, was ready to implicate Ochoa. They said he would be put into a cell where he would be fresh meat for other inmates. They yelled, they pounded on the tables, and threw a chair at him. They told him he would receive the death penalty unless he confessed. They showed him photographs of death row. They tapped him on his arm to show him where the needle would be inserted. Ochoa claimed the officers denied him access to an attorney, as well as didn't read him his Miranda rights. Ochoa alleged Polanco showed him photos from the victim's autopsy to try and elicit remorse and a confession out of him. In addition to alleged threats of receiving the death penalty, Ochoa claimed Polanco suggested he'd be a victim of sexual assault in prison if he didn't cooperate. So, like, they took both of them in, and they really started working on Ochoa.
Yeah. Yeah.
So because Richard Danziger was only 18. So I assume they probably didn't go as hard on him.
How old was Ochoa? He was 20?
He was 22.
22.
Yeah. Yeah. But these are still both pretty young,
Yeah, young
impressionable
adults.
men.
Yeah.
Yeah. After two 12-hour sessions with Hector Polanco, Boardman, and Ed Balagia, Ochoa signed a confession that included important details about the murder. He implicated Danziger, pled guilty, and was sent to prison for life.
Wow.
I
That's
know.
fucked up.
It is. So he implicated Danziger, and they both actually got sentenced.
That's crazy. How did they
Yeah.
both get sentenced?
Because Ochoa, he confessed and he named Danziger. So
As an accomplice?
as an accomplice. A confession, even if it's not a true confession, a confession is almost like the highest form of evidence. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's like the holy grail of evidence. That's why
Yeah,
it's so
that's
important.
entirely that's what they need to get that
Yeah,
conviction
exactly.
is you to say that you did it.
Right. So this is really sad. Once in prison, Danziger was kicked in the head with steel-toed boots by another inmate who just mistook him for somebody else, and he
Oh.
suffered a traumatic brain injury.
Oh my God.
I know. I know.
Because of your fucking friend
Yes.
putting you there?
Yeah, because 12 fucking okay, look. 3 sessions of 12 hours of an intimidating policeman, or not even a policeman, a fucking decorated detective sergeant, like yelling at you, telling you that you did this. Like, this guy was only 20. Ochoa was only 22.
Yeah,
Like,
and he
was
probably
not.
believed every fucking word.
Yeah, well, he just wanted to go home.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is like a lot of these, in all these cases where Polanco really like got his guy, air quotes.
He keeps them forever.
Ever. Yeah. And they're just exhausted. They're just mentally, emotionally, and physically exhausted. They haven't slept. They haven't really eaten. They're tired.
Yeah.
They're not old enough and wise enough to be like, I want a lawyer,
Right.
They didn't do anything wrong, so they don't feel the need to have a lawyer.
Yeah. Because if you go in and you literally like don't have any kind of crime under your belt, or you aren't into like the true crime and knowing what your rights are, like they're not going to tell you. And they're not going to tell you, if they do tell you, it's not going to be using verbiage that they're sure that you understand.
And also, especially like in movies and TV shows, when you ask for a lawyer, they're like, "Oh, he's lawyering up. They must be guilty."
Yeah.
But like it's an opposite. If you lawyer up, like they cannot touch you.
Right.
Especially if you're innocent.
Yeah. You're guilty until proven innocent, and that's unfortunately the way that it is. So
look, if I get pulled over even for a fucking ticket, I'm asking for a lawyer right away.
Yeah.
Like,
you have
like,
to.
You want to see? Yeah. You want to? If I get caught jaywalking, lawyer right away. Talk to my lawyer, buddy. I don't even have a lawyer, but yes, we do. Nosy Nancy's has multiple lawyers.
Yeah. We're very well set in the legal field, but don't sue us. Anyways.
Yeah, don't sue. Yeah.
Just because we're nice.
You'll regret it. Yeah. Okay, so years later, letters were sent to the police, then Governor Bush's office, and the district attorney's office. The letters revealed detailed knowledge of the crime. The author of the letters, Akim Marino, was in prison on other convictions with 3 life sentences. He had apparently undergone a religious conversion while attending an Alcoholics Narcotics Anonymous program, whereby he was obligated to confess his responsibility for the DePriest murder. He also wrote that he did not know either Ochoa or Danziger, and did not know why they would confess to a crime that he had committed. Marino also stated that he had sent confessions to other offices, including a newspaper and the ACLU, I don't know what that is, but that his letter had not been answered. After police received another letter from Marino that contained a detailed description of the scene, they began investigating the case again. Marino's letter told them how to locate items that were stolen from the Pizza Hut, which the police obtained. Investigators approached both Danziger and Ochoa again. Danziger had sustained injuries to his head while in prison, and was housed in a mental institution. Ochoa gave them the same story he had told at the trial. So this guy, Akeem Marino, um,
Is the one who did it.
he's the one who actually killed Nancy DePriest. And I looked up a little bit about him, and somebody had asked him why he killed her, like what was it, like why her? And he had said he didn't even mean, it wasn't like he had like known her. He meant to kill this other girl at a different shop, but there was people around. And so he just like walked across the street to the Pizza Hut, and he saw Nancy DePriest, and who, by the way, wasn't even supposed to be working that shift that day. She had
What?
switched her shift. Yeah.
Why was
Yeah.
he gonna go kill this other girl? Who was she?
Well, so basically, he was saying that ever since he was little, he had this voice in his head that he claimed was a demon, and the demon told him to go, he needed a sacrifice or something like that. So, that's what he was going to go do. It was the only way to shut up this voice in his head.
If you're suffering from demons talking to you, give them funny names like Douglas or Deborah. And then
Yeah.
when they're talking, just be like, shut up, Douglas. And then whenever you're saying that to the demon, you realize how stupid it sounds.
Yeah.
So then
Yeah.
you know, don't listen to Douglas or Deb or Frank or whoever.
Wow, it sounds like you might know this from experience.
Life hack. Life hack from me to you.
If you or anyone you know are having voices like that, like go seek help.
Yeah, go get yourself some help and don't kill random people, please.
Yeah,
Thanks.
that's not. Yeah, we're sick of it, to be honest.
Yeah, stop it.
Akeem Marino was found guilty of Nancy DePriest's rape and murder by DNA samples taken at the scene of the crime and his confession. On October 12th, 2002, Akeem Marino was sentenced to life in prison. So that was his fourth life in prison sentence. Yeah. Ochoa revealed in an article he wrote for the Journal of Criminal Law and Criminology, as well in numerous interviews with everyone from ABC's late night news from show Nightline to the Dallas Morning News and the Austin American Statement, why he had confessed to a brutal crime he didn't commit. He told how Polanco walked into the interrogation room and announced that on the streets he was known as El Cucuy, or the Boogeyman.
The Boogeyman.
Yep. As the hours went on, Ochoa became exhausted. Finally, when Polanco threatened to throw him in the local jail where he would be fresh meat, Ochoa recalls, for the other inmates, he gave up. I just wanted to go home, he would later write. Polanco brought in a typewriter and began asking Ochoa questions. He put the young man through another day of interrogation, feeding him details about the murder. My brain was mush, Ochoa wrote. Finally, Polanco wrote out a statement, and Ochoa signed it, and he was taken to jail.
You know, like, Hector Polanco, it's obvious that he has no shame, because even if I did believe that Ochoa and Danzig had done this, then,
Right.
and I got the confession and I did a really good job. Do you know how fucking mortified I would be to have some other dude come out and be like, yeah, it was me. I don't know why they confessed to this. I would be so embarrassed.
Yeah.
I would be like, it's not
Yeah.
imposter syndrome. I just simply don't know what I'm doing with this job. Like, I should maybe find a new line of work. Like, I would be so embarrassed. I would be like, take me off any case and never let anybody see my face again.
Well, I think that's why the police department's so, and not just Austin Police Department, it's all the police departments. I think that's why they do protect their own, not because they like love each other and it's a brotherhood, but because they don't want the social embarrassment either.
Yeah.
Because
of how much they fuck up.
Yeah, because if one of their own gets, reprimanded publicly, then it looks bad for the whole department, you know. So I think that's why, honestly, I think that's why they really are gung-ho about protecting and supporting their officers at all costs. I know, no, it's frustrating because like look what happened to Danziger. Like
Yeah.
he has a lifelong traumatic brain injury. Like he can't even live by himself. He has to live in an institution for the rest of his life because of a false confession. Like that's
Yeah,
infuriating.
that's ridiculous.
And
Absolutely
what happened and
ridiculous.
like what happened to Polanco? Well, you're gonna
Nothing.
find out. After being exonerated, Ochoa and Danziger sued the city of Austin and three of the cops, including Polanco. The city ultimately wound up paying 14.5 million to the men, um, which
Not enough.
14.5 not enough. Yeah. I feel very bad for not having the courage to stand up to the police, said Ochoa. No, that's not it's not
It's
him.
not
That's
your
like
fault.
not at all. It's the police. It's a system.
It's
It's an ego.
designed, yeah, it's designed to get the job done, regardless
Yeah.
of how, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So I so like I tried to look more into Akeem because the way that he the way that he killed Nancy DePriest is so it's very similar to how the girls at the yogurt shop were murdered.
Yeah.
He also there is something else to say that I forgot. He also robbed the Pizza Hut. Didn't take very much, but he robbed whatever he could. So that's also another similarity in the yogurt shop
Yeah.
murders. But he didn't confess to the yogurt shop murders, or at
Right.
least they're not releasing that if he did. But maybe, maybe he thought that like confessing to one was enough. Like he
Right.
didn't have to confess. But then
Yeah.
at the same time, if he's already in prison, like why would he not just confess to that?
And that is
But it's
super interesting too, because during the investigation of the yogurt shop murders, like during the initial investigation, everybody was so fucking adamant that they had never seen anything like this before. Like, there
yes.
had been absolutely no cases with any sort of striking similarities to this ever.
Right. Right. And it's just not true.
Yeah,
And I mean, Nancy, she was an adult, but she was only 20.
right.
She wasn't that much older than
I mean, the
what
oldest girls in the yogurt shop murders were both
were
17.
17. Yeah. That's 3 years older
Yeah,
than them. So it's not far-fetched, but
right.
I just don't know why he wouldn't. And they
Confessed
do
to
have
both.
his right, and they do have his DNA. So like, they should
Test
look
it.
into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so Akeem actually he died in prison, I think in like 2008 or something like that. So he's no longer alive, but they could still I mean his I'm sure his profile is still in the system.
Yeah. At
I think
least
they
to
should check
settle
it.
the case. I don't know if I mentioned whenever we did the yogurt shop one, they used to have like a pink picket fence with pictures of the oops, I knocked the
Yeah, you
microphone. With
oh, that's
pictures of the
okay.
girls with pictures of the girls. And Todd and I went to show Todd when we were there, like where it happened, and they do have you gotta be looking for it because it's like fucking ground level, but they do have a little
Oh,
plaque
they
for the
do.
girls. Yeah. Outside of
Yeah.
where the yogurt shop used to be, there is like this little I don't know what they call it. It's like a curb with trees, like a little
Yeah.
median, and
Yeah.
the plaque is there, but it's on ground level, and you have to be looking.
See, that's too bad. Like they should erect the fence back up
Yeah,
so
put the fucking
people
fence back up. What's the
yeah.
problem?
Yeah, what's the problem?
Get over it.
Austin. I know this fucking city that pulls in billions of dollars from ACL Fest alone has the money to put up a small tiny little fence.
Yeah. Everything's so, I think it's just for the looks, because everything's getting to be so industrial down there. Like everything's fucking metal and
Yeah. Yeah.
all natural wood buildings, and it doesn't fit in with the aesthetic. I don't care. Put the fucking fence back up there.
Yeah.
Remind people that this crime took place and that we need to be holding you guys accountable for solving it still.
I don't think any kind of justice is ever going to be enough, obviously,
No.
but but the Austin Police Department in the state of Texas really do need to do better
Yeah.
by
It's
them, by the
ridiculous.
families.
It's ridiculous.
By all these victims that I'm about to tell you, they all need to be awarded
Yeah,
$14.5 million. It's
exactly. And
crazy.
even more. They need more.
This one's really gonna piss you off, this next case. It
Okay.
really pissed me off. I mean, they all
Okay, I'm
pissed me
already
off, but
pissed.
this one's really this one pisses me off. So this is the case of Anita Byington. At 6:30 a.m. on Sunday, August 11th, 1991, a resident of the Spring Creek Apartments on the east side of Austin, Texas, found a body in the wooded area behind one of the buildings. When Austin Police Department arrived on the scene, they discovered signs of a struggle. The victim had been beaten with a concrete rain diverter found several feet away from the gutter where it belonged.
What the
Sh-
fuck?
I know. That's brutal. That's a brutal fucking killing. She died from a blow to her head, was fully clothed but missing identification. The victim would later be identified as Anita Byington, a 21-year-old senior at what was then called Southwest Texas, but is now known as Texas State University in San Marcos. The initial time of death was placed between midnight and 6 a.m. Despite signs of a struggle, there were no reported disturbances that morning. Open windows littered the apartment complex, leading investigators to believe someone heard or saw the struggle and didn't want to get involved. A courtesy officer for the complex patrolled the area at 3 a.m. and it was quiet. Anita's time of death was placed at 5:30 a.m. Investigators immediately went to work on mapping out Anita's night of her murder. She was staying with her friends on Bluff Springs Road in southeast Austin. She drove her car to 6th Street to go out to the bars. One of her friends was working for the Senate sergeant at arms
Oh.
at the time. So I'm sure she felt like she was pretty safe because she
Yeah.
had, you know, somebody who was connected to law enforcement
Right.
or the state. One of the men, unnamed, got a ride from Anita to his truck on RM 2222. He voluntarily went to the APD to say that he saw her last at 3 a.m. and wasn't sure what happened next. She was murdered at the Spring Creek Apartments, now named Ashford Costa Brava Apartments on Springdale. The route from 2222 to Bluff Springs Road did not pass by the apartments where she was found. So she must have gone like out of her way, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Her 1989 brown Honda was found miles away at another apartment complex. It was unclear if it was parked there before or after her murder, which is kind of weird. I would assume
Yeah.
after.
I would think so. Like they
Yeah,
moved it back.
yeah, or something. A crime scene bystander told police that she had noticed a black man slowly driving a maroon Oldsmobile Tornado around the parking lot, rubbernecking. Officers tracked down Andre Casey, a 26-year-old high school dropout with no criminal record and who lived part-time at the Spring Creek Apartments with his girlfriend, Delanda Harrell. Two officers, Mike Huckabee, he was on the
On the
yogurt
yogurt
shop
shop.
case,
Yeah.
and Bruce Boardman, who was on the case previous to this, on the Ochoa case, asked him some questions about the car, which he said he had borrowed from a friend. The officers, curious about why he had been acting suspiciously at the scene. Wait, hold on. Are you kidding? Like, who wouldn't be rubbernecking? We would all
Yeah.
be looking. I would
I
be
mean,
looking. It's commotion. It's just like human. It's human nature to be curious.
and what
The only
year
reason
was
why
this?
this was in 1991.
So, not everybody had a cell phone even in
No,
1991.
no,
So it's
nobody
not
had
like
cell
they
phones.
could just pull over and call the police either.
Right, right. Okay, so they asked him to come to the station to answer some questions. Casey arrived at the police station at 8 p.m., and after 30 to 45 minutes of questioning from Huckabee and Boardman, the officers determined Casey was lying about the car he was seen driving and that he must also be lying about his involvement in Anita's murder. The APD put together their version of events based on a written confession from Casey. So Casey was a poor reader, and before dropping out of high school, Casey attended special education classes. So this guy has a low IQ,
Yeah.
all right? He's a poor reader. They really took advantage of this guy.
Right.
There was significant doubt Casey could understand for himself what he was signing. Casey insisted the cops told him that the document only said that they had read him his rights and hadn't beaten him.
That's so fucked up.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying, is like totally took advantage of him. He wasn't a good reader. He couldn't read very well, so he couldn't corroborate that at all. And what's really fucked up is like nobody really questioned it.
What?
You know, they never.
If someone was like, he can't read, but he signed this document.
Exactly.
I'd be like, what the fuck did it say?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
I want to see the document that this man signed.
Yeah, me too. And it's like a whole ass confession. What the fuck? He had been exhausted and all he wanted to do was go home, so he signed. He swore he had nothing to do with the murder. He maintained that the APD tricked him into signing the confession. They read him his rights, and then they turned up the heat. They were also joined by their supervisor, Hector Polanco. Casey insisted that although he and his friend Bobby Harold Jr., Delanda's boyfriend, had been smoking crack at a nearby apartment, they had nothing to do with the murder. The police, though, developed a theory. A drug deal had gone bad in which Casey and Harold had killed Byington. Despite of having another suspect, a man named Kevin Harris, who confessed in having consensual sex with Anita that night and being the last person she was known to have seen, Casey went to trial first since there was a signed confession and evidence, and a conviction would bolster the case against Harold, for which there was little evidence. So even though they had a guy who said, I had consensual sex with Anita that night, and I was the last person to see her, they still went for Casey because Casey was rubbernecking and smoked crack every once in a while.
Drugs don't guarantee that you're like committing any crime other than doing drugs illegally.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. Exactly. It was racial profiling.
Yeah. 100%.
100%. They just by talking to him, they probably could tell that he was an easy target to pin this murder on.
Yeah.
Ugh, so frustrating. It just really makes me so mad in my pants. Like, I don't know. I just don't want to be on this planet anymore.
I know.
It's
so inexcusable. Just fucking inexcusable. But
seriously. Oh, it gets worse. It gets worse.
Oh.
Casey's defense attorney tried to invalidate the confession. He was coerced and couldn't read. However, the jury rejected this notion.
Why?
Instead, because they're assholes. Because they're fucking assholes. I don't know. Because back in 1991, everybody was fucking racist, I guess. They're all idiots. I have no idea. Instead, they sided with the APD officers who testified Casey gave details of the murder and cried while doing so. Yeah, he probably wanted to go home.
Yeah, he was probably tired and hungry.
And hungry and didn't want to be there. I'd be crying too. Let me eat a fucking sandwich. This is what's really infuriating. This is not the most infuriating, but this is pretty fucking infuriating. The defense during the trial wasn't allowed to present a key piece of exploratory evidence. Casey maintained Sergeant Hector Polanco tricked him. At the time of Casey's trial, Polanco was under investigation on an unrelated charge for possible perjury and false testimony. The jury wasn't allowed to hear this, which meant they didn't have the full picture of the APD culture at the time.
Yeah.
That is fucked up.
That is entirely what... I mean, you would love to be able to trust in the criminal justice system, and you would want to side, you know, if you're on a jury, you want to side on the side of right. I don't know. Is it righteousness? Rightness?
Yeah, righteousness.
Righteousness. I mean, you want to give justice to the people who need it and put the
Right.
criminals away. But
Yeah.
when the criminals are masquerading as these do-gooders
Oh,
and fucking off, just regular citizens,
yeah, and not
then
to mention,
what are you
oh,
supposed to fucking what are you
right.
supposed like what are you supposed to believe?
And not just that, but like if you're in a jury and you are one person who believes that maybe the APD is fucked up, you have to convince 11 other people that that you're right.
Yeah.
I don't even like people. There's no way that I could convince these dumbass people. I mean, we're talking about Texas here. We're talking about Texas people who were raised in Texas to believe that, in the South, God is king. And
Yeah.
then and then after that, it's the fucking police department. You have to believe in what they say. You have to respect them no matter what. So
Yeah.
there's always that mentality of like the good guys versus the bad guys. And the
Yeah.
good guys are always going to be the police department because that's how you're raised. And back in 1991, even though Austin was liberal, then still it wasn't as liberal as it is now. And I couldn't imagine there being very many like free thinkers on the jury at that time.
No. No fucking way. No,
Ugh,
everybody was still trying to be all cookie cutter and all that shit
yeah,
back then.
exactly. Yeah,
Nobody had a
and
reason to question anything.
exactly. Though there was no physical evidence against him, and though Harris had left 3 prints in Byington's car, and remember, Harris was the guy that she had consensual sex with the night
Hmm.
before. So
Right.
Harris had left 3 prints in Byington's car and could not be eliminated as a source of the semen on her blouse and underwear. Casey was found guilty and sentenced to 50 years in prison.
What the
50
fuck?
fucking years. At a May 1992 pretrial hearing, Casey's attorney, Michael Exon, noted the official investigations of Polanco, which were front page news on the Austin American Statesman, and pointed out that Casey's confession appeared after Officer Polanco got involved. This raises a red flag. Etchison's asked the court to force the state to turn over records of any questionable confessions taken by the 4 APD cops involved in Casey's case. The judge eventually granted Etchison's request, though the state never complied. So the judge made a ruling that the state turn over all these, all this evidence that
Key
there's
pieces of
foul play.
evidence.
Yeah, foul play against Polanco and his possible connection of other cases that he fucked up doing the same exact thing. And the state still didn't fucking produce that information.
How was the state held accountable? Not at
It's
all.
not at all. How do you go after a whole fucking state? I mean, that would have to be federal. I think the United States would have to come after Texas
Yeah.
for not releasing that. The state never complied. This is a man's life we're talking about.
Yeah.
This is two men's life we're talking about. Plus, this is a girl who was a victim that never got proper justice
And
because the state.
the thing is that they know it. Like, they know it, but they
Yes.
have this man. He signed the confession. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter that, the other dudes over here being like, yeah, I had consensual sex and my semen's all over her and I have handprints all over and I was the last person to see her alive. That doesn't matter. Like, don't even bother questioning him because we
Yeah.
have this other man's signature on this piece of paper that he can't even read, bless his heart.
Right.
And
Bless his heart.
we're going after him. It's the fact that they are more concerned with the effort that the manpower is going to take to eliminate everybody. Like,
Mm-hmm.
all they need to get is one solid person. It's just like with the yogurt shop, and they kept going after those 4 boys.
Right.
Like, even
Right.
years afterwards, when they had already been eliminated as suspects, some other officer comes and he's like, you know what would make my job easier is looking at these boys again.
Again, even though their gun the gun that one of them had didn't
Didn't
even
match.
match. But
Yeah.
let's still keep looking
Let's
at them.
retest it. Let's take up the manpower to retest a weapon that's already been
Yeah.
tested.
Which is fucking ironic because they don't want to take the manpower to open a new investigation, but they'll use the same, they'll use the same amount of manpower to fucking
To go
dig
after
into
the wrong person.
Yeah. It's like, what the fuck? You guys are idiots.
It's scary. I mean, if you sit there and you really think about it, like, it's so scary because all they have to have is a reason not to like you. Like, that's
Yeah.
it. Like,
Yeah.
all they have to have is a reason not to like you, and they can go after you with as much force or false evidence or whatever. Like, you hear all the time that APD, I don't know if there's any truth to it or not, I'm not saying.
Right.
But you hear all the time, these stories that APD is planting drugs on people to take them
Right.
in or whatever. And it's like,
It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, like,
it doesn't surprise me.
What I think, because I lose strands of hair all the time. I'm a balding bitch, and
Me too.
So I'm thinking,
I'm in my Britney Spears era.
Yeah. I think about sometimes, like, or I will be ripping I wear fake eyelashes. I'll be ripping my eyelashes off and just tossing them wherever, or my nails, and just tossing them wherever. And then I think about it later on, and I'm like, what if someone gets murdered? Where I tossed my shit, and then they come after me and they don't like me. And because there's evidence that I was there, even months before or whatever, they could come after me. And I'm like, oh my God, like, it's scary to think about.
No, it is scary. It's like Polanco was like, okay, well, I'm not planting evidence and I'm not doing any of this crooked cop shit. But he was like forcing confessions, which maybe in his head he thought, oh, I'm just like using force and intimidation for them to like come out and finally confess to these things that they did. So I can't be a bad cop because I'm not planting pot and I'm not, falsifying documents and I'm not like doing all these other things that everybody was accusing APD of doing, or any police department across the country was doing. So maybe in his own head he was like, I'm a good guy, I'm the John Wayne of the APD.
Yeah.
But really,
well, even still, like, even if that was the case, if he thought that he was doing a good job, if the cops around him had questions, it's their responsibility to come to him and be like, hey buddy, I don't think that it's very responsible for you to keep this suspect like 48 hours consecutively in the fucking interrogation room.
What I want to know is what the fuck with the state of Texas. Obviously, I mean, we've talked about this a lot. This, like, police department doesn't care about us. Like, no, the state of fucking Texas doesn't care about us.
Yeah.
Even though we make money for the state of Texas, we're out here busting our asses every day, paying taxes to Texas to live here, fucking land taxes. You know what I mean? And like they're not willing to do one little thing, to give up documents to help this one innocent man not go to prison for a crime he didn't fucking commit.
Exactly.
And this was after the judge subpoenaed it. They said, you need to provide us with these documents. And the state of Texas said, no, I don't think so. They just kept drinking their fucking White Claw.
Yeah.
What the fuck? After Casey was sent to prison, he and Delonda maintained their bond. Delonda would drive to visit him 2 or 3 times a month. She did it for her peace of mind as much as his. Keep him going, she said, but sometimes I would feel down too. He's an encouragement to me. Sometimes she just needed to talk to him. He had always been even-keeled, and somehow, even in prison, he kept his composure. He's always been mellow, like, I'm gonna ride it out. We just kept on encouraging each other.
That's sweet.
I know. In prison, Casey worked various jobs, and he learned to read.
Oh,
he taught himself.
Yeah.
I know. He taught himself with help from other inmates and earned his GED in 2003. He worked on his writing by copying out love poems he had read in books from the library. Stop!
Oh my God, stop. I'm on my period and I'm literally crying.
Oh, poor Casey. Not us ugly crying on a fucking podcast. This is why we can't do live podcasting. Or even poems friends in his prison had written. And he was sending them to Delonda. She kept all of them.
Hang on. Hang on.
You guys, Jasmine is legitimately crying right now.
It's so sweet.
Stop it! Stop it! You're making me cry. Stop it! Stop it! Oh my god! I just feel so bad because he couldn't read.
I know you were
Oh my god! What the fuck is wrong with us? Wow, this is so embarrassing.
Oh my god, so sad.
Okay, get your composure, girl.
Okay, I'm ready.
It gets sweeter.
Oh god. Okay.
Go get you some chocolate. Casey says he was turned down for parole 15 times. Keep the faith, Delonda would tell him. We just have to wait and try again in 2 years. Finally, after 30 years and 3 months, he was paroled in October of 2022.
What?
He's only been out for 2 fucking years.
What the fuck?
I know. And Delonda, she stayed with him the whole time. I can't even get a guy to call me back. Are you fucking joking? Delonda.
Fuck yeah. You're the best.
You are. Let me get in that throuple, because I need something like Delonda. I'm just saying. The star witness of Casey's parole hearing was Chris Ochoa, who had been threatened by Polanco into falsely confessing to murder back in 1988. So that's really sweet that Ochoa he showed up for Casey. Ochoa is 57 now with graying hair and black glasses. He got his law degree after getting out of prison and today is director of legal affairs for an oil company in New Mexico.
Oh my god.
I know, he's doing so good. His voice often cracked as he recalled Polanco's interrogation techniques. The yelling, the threats, the slammed fists on the table. 7 months after Byington's murder, Polanco was thrown off the yogurt shop murders task force. The move came after suspicions emerged that he had coerced false confessions from 2 suspects in the murders. One was named Tony Bell, who, when later interviewed by a federal agent, admitted he had lied but said he did so only after Polanco issued threats, including that he would have his sisters raped.
What?
Yeah. The other suspect, Alex Briones, had already been arrested for a San Antonio murder when, after talking with Polanco, he verbally confessed to killing the girls, though without much detail. When other officers became suspicious, Huckabee interviewed Briones again, though the suspect kept asking to speak to Polanco in private. Briones finally signed the confession, but then failed a polygraph and later said that Polanco had threatened him and told him what to say. I don't have no animosity towards the police, even though they've done what they did. It's not going to serve me any good to go down that road. I've always been laid back and calm, and I'm like, I don't wish nothing bad on nobody. I hate what they did to me. Don't get me wrong, but I don't wish nothing bad on them. Ugh. If that was me, I'd be going to fucking seances. I'd be getting fucking calls. You know what I mean? I'd be going to any fucking voodoo person I knew, cracking eggs, dancing with snakes. I don't care. Like stealing fucking hair. Like these motherfuckers are gonna be paying for what they did to me. Casey's just, he's just so sweet.
Oh my god,
he's such a sweet man. Stop. And stop. I am such a terrible citizen compared to him.
I would never rest. I would never sleep again. I'd spend every second trying to fuck over the people that fucked me.
Me too. He's so precious. He's just a precious
god,
little man. In October 1992, a young man named Alva Curry had gone on trial for murder after confessing to police that he had taken part in a robbery and killing. He was found guilty, but the day after the trial, prosecutors told by police that days before Curry confessed, a man named Bruce Bowser had also confessed. After 6 to 8 hour interrogation sessions with Polanco and other cops, Bowser had recanted almost immediately and claimed that Polanco threatened to have his mother and grandmother killed by a man Bowser had robbed if he didn't cooperate.
What the
Alva Curry,
fuck is
yeah.
going on? And other police officers are like seeing and hearing
Yes, all
Polanco
this.
in there. And they're just
Yeah.
like, okay, great
Yeah.
tactic. Like, what?
Yeah, no. Yeah, they're like, you really got him, boss. Like, what the fuck? Alva Curry was convicted and sentenced to death. He died on January 28th, 2003 for the murder of 20-year-old David Vela and 23-year-old Brendan Prosk. In the wake of the yogurt shop debacle, the district attorney's office and then APD's Internal Affairs Division began looking at other cases Polanco was involved in. Thank you, finally. On August 8th, 1990, a man called the APD. This is insane. Are you ready?
Oh,
This
God.
case is so fucking crazy. Just shows how fucking corrupt and twisted and terrible Polanco was as a cop. On August 8th, 1990, a man called the APD to report his daughter missing. The APD tracked down her boyfriend, Billie Jean Davis, and Polanco took him in for questioning. After several days of 11 to 16-hour interrogations from Polanco, Davis confessed to two different times to murdering his missing girlfriend. All right? Then, on August 18th, this is 10 days later, the missing woman called her father from Tucson, Arizona, where she was still very much alive.
Okay.
So Polanco, this just shows how fucking horrible Polanco was as a police officer. He fucking made this man confess
to a murder.
Twice to a murder that never
when the lady's
happened.
Alive.
She's still alive in Arizona.
What did she do? Just run away?
I guess she just went to Arizona and didn't tell anybody, I guess. And her father, this was back in 1990, so people didn't have cell phones. So I guess she just never called her father to check in, and he assumed that she was, missing.
Yeah.
And so he called the APD, and the APD took it seriously, I guess. So
as they should, when they receive that type of call, but
right.
To have somebody confess twice, even just once with no evidence of a body or anything.
Yes, I know. I should note that while this all was going on in the early 90s, there was a serial rapist that was plaguing Austin at the time. So the heat was on for the APD to kind of get all these cases solved because they needed to eradicate this man, or I'm assuming is a man. So they really had the heat on them. But to have somebody confess twice to somebody's murder who was still alive is just you can't even make this up on a movie. This is a movie.
Yeah. If for some reason there was no other red flags up until this point, this would be the major one to be like, okay, Hector,
right.
I don't know what you're doing, bud, but your time here is ended.
So this was all on the record. This is what during Casey's case, because this happened in 1990, and Anita's death or murder happened in 1991. So this was what the
jury didn't get to hear.
Exactly. This is what the Casey's lawyer was like. We need this on trial. People need to know what's happening with Polanco.
Yeah.
So this is the stuff that I'm sure there's more because the state never released,
turned it over.
But this is I'm assuming what is probably the same as what was happening that the case, that the state had. So this is pretty valuable information. And I think if the jury heard this, I think they would be in question of whether or not if Casey was even, able to even be tried for murder.
Yeah, exactly.
If they had known that Hector Polanco was out there fucking getting false confessions, then yeah, I'm sure they would have questioned it.
Yeah.
Hopefully. I don't know though. This is fucking Texas we're talking about.
That's true.
But hopefully. I mean, you'd like to think. So this is the next case, and I think this is going to be the last case I'm going to go over. Yes. So this is the case of William Redman. At approximately 11:30 p.m. on February 20th, 1991, Travis County Corrections Officer William Roderick Redman was beaten to death. The victim's body was found by Austin Police Officer Leon Williams in the parking lot of John Salazar's apartment. Officer Williams found the victim upon arriving at Salazar's apartment with Salazar in his custody. Officer Williams had taken Salazar into his custody nearby for an unrelated incident half an hour earlier. Okay, so Salazar was already in custody of the police when they think
the crime
had happened. Okay.
But
it just happened that the murder happened at this guy's place of residency, which honestly is just a coincidence because it's a fucking apartment complex. There's other people that live there.
Right.
After the victim's body was discovered, John Salazar was the prime suspect for the murder of Officer Redman. Salazar was the only suspect. Salazar was questioned at the scene by Officer Williams, Sergeant Bruce Boardman, there he is again, and Sergeant Brent McDonald, and told the officers that the names of several men and women who had been at his apartment earlier that evening. Salazar, however, claimed to have no knowledge of Redman's murder. Salazar was taken to the police station and at approximately 3:30 a.m., Sergeant McDonald and Gary Cutler, a Travis County deputy sheriff, began questioning him. Salazar repeatedly told the officers that he knew nothing about the murder. The officers were reluctant to believe Salazar, however, since he had been the only person found in the vicinity of the murder just after it had occurred, even though he was in fucking police custody already. So, make it make sense, Gina. What the fuck?
What is going on?
I don't
Oh my god.
know. Just stop throwing your eyelashes out just willy-nilly.
I know.
Our life is going to be an episode of Hoarders.
Yeah.
If the police department doesn't get their shit together.
Maybe the Hoarders have the right idea. They've had the right idea the whole time.
Maybe so. At approximately 10 a.m., McDonald began taking a written statement from Salazar. At around 11:20 a.m., after typing about 1.5 pages, McDonald quit taking Salazar's statement because he did not believe that Salazar was telling the truth. Sometime later, Sergeant Hector Polanco began questioning Salazar. Other officers testified that Polanco was alone with Salazar while questioning him. Salazar testified that Polanco entered the room, introduced himself, and said that his nickname was El Diablo, and was used in special cases like this one. Although, according to Salazar, Polanco did not verbally abuse him, Polanco intimidated him.
I believe it.
Yeah. I mean, at what point is intimidation, verbal intimidation, not verbal abuse?
Yeah.
It's the same fucking thing, I think. At some point during the interview, Polanco began taking down a written statement from Salazar. Polanco typed the statement on the same sheet that McDonald had begun, picking up where McDonald had left off. According to the portion of the statement taken by Polanco, Salazar had witnessed the entire assault. Salazar later testified that this portion of the statement was invented and was pure fiction. Among its various inaccuracies, the account wrongly cast Jose Flores, who was tried in a separate proceeding for the murder of Redman, as a peacemaker who attempted to prevent Hernandez, Ibarra, and Appellant from attacking the victim. Which these, I guess, are guys that were like around. Yeah. Salazar testified that he invented some portions of the statement himself, while other parts were generated by suggestive questions from Sergeant Polanco. When asked why he had given a false statement with such detail regarding things of which he had no knowledge of, Salazar explained that he had hoped the police would check them out and find them to be false. That's relying on people to do their job.
Yeah. Can't do that.
I guess, yeah, fuck us, I guess.
Not smart.
Mm-mm. Salazar hoped that then the police would finally believe that he indeed knew nothing about the murder. The face of the statement indicates that Salazar signed it at 2:17 p.m. before two witnesses. While Salazar was being questioned, Sergeant Boardman, there he is, and Deputy Cutler were questioning Appellant and Flores in New Braunfels. Sergeant Boardman and Deputy Cutler had left for New Braunfels at about 6:30 a.m. after receiving word that several of the persons named by Salazar as having been at his apartment were in custody. Boardman and Cutler obtained confessions from both Appellant and Flores. So this guy, okay, so in New Braunfels, separately, these two guys, without talking to Salazar, confessed to murdering Redmond.
Right.
But the APD is still thinking, oh no, it's definitely Salazar. Yeah.
We got our man.
Yeah, we got our man.
We got the confession.
The boogeyman got the confession from him. So the El Diablo.
That's the devil, in case you weren't.
Yeah.
In case you aren't familiar with Spanish.
Yeah. Trust us. At some point during the afternoon, after the confessions were obtained, Boardman telephoned the Austin Police Department to tell the other homicide detectives that he and Cutler had solved the case. Boardman did not remember who he talked to on the phone, but after describing the confessions, the person on the other end of the line told Boardman that a statement had been taken from John Salazar that described a different chain of events. Well, yeah, because he didn't do it, so his chain of events would not be right.
Yeah.
Boardman responded that the statement could not be correct. Appellant and Flores both indicated that Salazar could not have witnessed the murder because he was being questioned by Officer Williams when the murder occurred.
Okay. So
he was
there we
literally in police custody while
being
the murder
questioned actively by the police.
What the fuck, Jasmine? Like, what is happening? Like, why is this so bad? Why are they so bad?
This is, I mean, and the thing is that I think that we all know that it's bad and that it has been bad, but I think that this kind of brings to light exactly what is going on and how bad it is. And I really feel like, I mean, this was like in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s kind of time. So imagine how much worse it's gotten since then. Since people have lost faith in the police department and in the justice system, they're under more pressure to be producing positive results,
And who knows how deep the fucking corruption runs.
Exactly. There's no telling. I mean, that's
no telling.
That's what's even scarier about it is like you don't know.
Mm-mm. And we will never know, and we're never gonna report on it because I'm not trying to get assassinated.
Yeah, our mini lawyers don't need the work.
Right. They're busy. They're so busy.
Yeah.
Boardman testified that he had said something to the effect of, "You better take that one back." However, Boardman testified that he did not intend his statement to be understood as an instruction to hide the Salazar statement. Appellant was tried for the aggravated robbery and murder of Redmond. Sergeant McDonald testified during Appellant's trial, and when asked whether he had ever taken a written statement from Salazar, left the impression that he had never done so. Appellant was convicted of aggravated robbery and murder on January 31st, 1992. Okay. So here's when shit starts getting legal. This is the next section is going to be the legal steps that were taken against Polanco.
Okay.
And one of the things that it was during Salazar's case, Polanco and McDonald testified and said that they never took Salazar's confession. They never wrote it down, that it never happened.
Uh-huh.
Because it shows just how, corrupt they were, or
Right.
how corrupt, he was by like getting a false confession out of a man who was innocent, basically.
Yeah.
On April 15th, 1992, McDonald discovered in his office the confession Salazar made to Polanco and the notes Polanco made during the interview. The phrase "not needed" appeared in McDonald's handwriting on the outside of the envelope containing the false confession and notes. The Internal Affairs Division charged Polanco with aggravated perjury with failure to supplement reports, and with bringing discredit upon the police force. The division charged McDonald with bringing discredit upon the APD. The APD and the Disciplinary Review Board sustained the charges. Polanco was suspended indefinitely after rejecting a 30-day disciplinary suspension. McDonald agreed to a written reprimand. Although Polanco received reinstatement on appeal, the APD refused to allow Polanco to return to the Homicide Division. Probably the best thing APD's ever fucking done.
Thank you. Thanks for that.
God, thanks for doing one thing right. Instead, the APD assigned him to a walking unit, which I don't know what that means. I guess he's like a regular cop again. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
So this is when it gets really this pisses me off so fucking bad. This is the end of it too. This is it. All right.
Okay.
Polanco sued the city alleging employment discrimination. After a 3-day trial, the jury awarded Polanco $75,000 for expenses incurred, $150,000 for emotional pain and suffering, and $125,000 for injury to his reputation. The court partially granted the city's motion to remitter and entered a judgment awarding Polanco $290,000 in damages and $28,000 for attorney's fee. So they reprimanded Polanco, kicked him off the force, gave him his job back, but said you can't be a homicide detective. So really a slap on the fucking wrist.
Yeah.
So he's still getting his pension.
I did see this whenever I was doing the yogurt shop research.
Yes.
I did see it about where he sued the APD and not only, got basically like his job back, just in a different, in a different department, basically.
Right.
But he also got awarded all this money and got to keep his like high name in the force of being, being the man to catch all these criminals and everything. And it's like, what? It was so hard for me not to mention during the research because it's like such a big fucking, like, who are you kidding?
It's a slap in the face. It's a slap in the face to the judicial system. It's a slap in the face to all the people that he wrongfully imprisoned, or he had part in wrongfully imprisoning. It's a slap in the face to the victims who died by another person's hand and whose real murderer
just
got away with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Fuck you.
No,
not you, but
you. No, but and not all you guys listening, but the judge who awarded him, and it's so funny to me because like his thing was, it was discriminative because I'm Hispanic and the guy in McDonald is a white guy and he just got a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
Well, McDonald didn't have a rep sheet of a fucking
nothing but false confessions and false documentation.
Yeah. Right.
and
Also,
abuse of suspects and
right. And taking advantage of people's handicaps, you know
yeah,
what I mean? Also, like, McDonald was just a detective. Polanco was a decorated sergeant
yeah,
who was, or I don't know if he was a
he was
sergeant, but he was
high
high enough.
ranks.
Yeah, and he was, you know, when you accept a position where you are supervising people and shit goes wrong, guess what?
It's gonna
You're
fall on
responsible.
you. Yeah,
Yes, exactly. And he basically just got to retire. He got to retire with 500,000 extra dollars and live his life. And that to me is just fucking infuriating. Because while this happened, while he got awarded all this money for his discrimination suit, uh Casey is still in prison
right.
at that
Yeah,
time, still being discriminated
still
against because,
trying to get out.
yeah, still writing little love poems to his fucking
Oh
girlfriend who
my
stood by
god,
his
no.
side. Yeah.
They're so
And
sweet.
this, I know. But like, it's like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Like, something has got to change. Something has got to change. Anyways, that's all I have on Polanco.
The basic gist of it is, you know, I mean, obviously exactly what you've been talking about for the past 2 hours is
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
this man was so notable in the
Mm-hmm.
APD that he elicited all these false confessions for crimes that people did not commit. He was in the homicide division, so these were murders that we're talking about. And now that all this shit has come out about all of the false confessions and the false imprisonments, you know, there are several now, all of his cases are having to be reopened and
Yeah.
reinvestigated. So
Yeah.
there's now several more cold cases
Mm-hmm.
because of Hector Polanco's lack of,
Ego.
yeah, lack of investigation and huge ass ego that,
He
you know,
literally,
nobody knows if they're going to be solved now or not because it's been fucking years.
yeah. Yeah. And not just that, but like, he's costing the state of Texas, or especially the city of Austin, more money because we have to reopen all these
Yeah,
cases. You know what I mean? So like, he already cost the state or the city 500,000 fucking dollars,
right.
which, whatever, fuck you, Austin, for even putting him on the task force in the
Yeah,
first
come
place. So
on.
kind of your fault. But now he's also costing all of us money because we have to reopen all these cases because
Right.
these people deserve justice. They do. They deserve justice. And like, Polanco didn't give those people justice. He didn't do anything.
Yeah.
All he did was he literally faked it until he made it.
Yeah, exactly.
He is the definition of fake it till you make it. And he did. He faked a lot of it. And he got caught. But unfortunately, nothing happened to him, basically.
No. While all
You
these
know?
victims' families are finding out that the person that, you know, confessed is not the actual killer and that now
Right.
they're having to reopen the case and all these police who are still on the force are now having to be actively investigating these things and have their workload, you know,
I know.
doubled.
Re-traumatizes the families
Yeah.
because they have to open all this shit. And then the people who were imprisoned for under false pretenses,
They lost
they
years of their lives.
they lost years, but also they have a stigma now for the rest of their fucking life.
Yeah.
They are now forever going to be a felon.
Right.
You know? They have a record for something they didn't fucking do. How am I supposed to go to work now, tomorrow, and act like everything is okay?
Yeah.
It's not okay.
Yeah. No. No.
This is why people have depression, because like, you learn all this shit about the reality of
The way that
living
things are. Yeah.
Yeah, and you get depressed because you think about it. Like, sometimes I wake up at night and I'm just like, what the fuck is going on with the Austin Police Department? Like, why? Like, why did I decide to do this fucking podcast?
I
Like,
know.
I loved being ignorant. It was so blissful
I
and
know.
beautiful. And like, the worst thing that happened to me was I had a weird fucking date. You know what I mean? Like, now it's like, God, I I can't pass by a cop without thinking, Jesus,
Yeah.
did he have somebody in the back that's like passed out or,
Yeah, exactly. How many people has he beaten today?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a whole other world. But I do want to reiterate that this is all information that's been published before. So
Yeah. And
nothing I've
anything
said,
that we have said that's not been published is alleged.
yeah, is alleged, and it's just our opinion. And
This is a free country. We're allowed to have opinions and
that's right.
not have them be criminalized.
That's correct. Our lawyers told us to say that.
That's true.
But anyways, yeah, that's it. That's the case of Hector Polanco.
Well, what an incredibly frustrating end to our second season, and thank you for ruining the last little bit of my weekend.
Your life. Thank you for ruining my life. You're welcome. Next season, hopefully by next season, season 3, we'll start putting up video podcasts of our little faces.
So you can see all our little
flaws.
You can magnify in on all our little flaws.
Our little blackheads.
But I told Alequah, and I'm now telling you, that if you decide to watch the videos, sometimes I sit here and I put my eyelashes on, and sometimes I sit here and I have a little snack, and sometimes I sit here and I take a little drink. So be prepared.
Sometimes I sit here while you're talking and I have a little nap. So.
Yeah. You'll be seeing one wall of The Office, and that's it. So
I'm just not ready for people to realize how much of a trash goblin I really am. You know what I mean?
I think more and more people are riding that train, though. There's just not enough hours in the day.
There's really not. We're worked to our bone.
Oh
honestly.
My God, it's true. It's true. I've never been so skinny in my life. I'm working so hard.
Yeah, me too. So in shape. Yeah, the shape is a fucking circle. Okay. Anyways, enough about me and us.
And us.
We will see you guys. I don't know how long it's gonna be. Maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. We don't know yet.
We're just girls. We're just girling around.
Yeah. But do follow us on Instagram. And excuse me. We have a YouTube channel now. Yeah. By the way.
It doesn't show our faces, but you can go listen to our audio over there and build up a block of support over there for when we do decide to video. Then, we feel more comfortable having some views on our audio so that we can show our little faces and know that that we will have some supports.
So do follow us on YouTube. Do follow us on Instagram. It's Nosy Nancy's.
It's Nosy Nancy's.
Do follow us on Facebook and join our group.
It's Nosy Nancy's podcast.
If you want to send us anything as far as maybe an idea for season 3, you can always email us.
It's Nosy Nancy.
Oh. It's okay.
You go ahead. You usually do it.
At nosynancy's@gmail.com. Is it Nosy Nancy's podcast? No. Nosy Nancy's @gmail.com. Also, if you do like us and you do want to support us financially, you can join our Patreon. We do give out some little merch, and we also will give you a shout out as well. And we will also be in your debt for the rest of our lives.
And you get bonus episodes.
Yeah, we do get, and we probably will be doing bonus episodes on our Patreon while we're breaking for season 3. So if you have separation anxiety from us, and abandonment issues, which we both do, then it would be beneficial for you to join our Patreon as a paid member. Yeah, because then you can get
still be on there.
Mm-hmm. We'll still be there for you
for the first time today.
Yes. Okay. Me too. I just came up with that today.
Sometimes Alequah is just out here winging it and making promises, and I'm just like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll be doing it.
Oh, sweet Jasmine. She really is suffering from dementia because I know I mentioned it. Just kidding. Alzheimer's looks good on you, baby.
Thank
No,
you. Thank you. I'm rocking it.
no, I think I did just make that up. So you're right. But we love you. Oh, and Nosy Nancy's podcast is our Patreon, so just look us up.
Yeah, go ahead
But
and look it up and subscribe. It's $5.
yes, yes. We love you guys so much, and we are so happy that you guys have stuck with us for 2 seasons now. And I think every day we're just growing and growing and growing.
I know we're just getting up there in age, and
Mm-hmm.
talent wise, we're working on it.
Yeah, we're still mediocre,
Yeah.
but we're getting there. All right. So we'll see you guys next time.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
C'est la vie, ma